Page 1. Chapter on Beth. Will you keep it secret, though, if I tell you? Lucy asks me with a knowing look. She's my best friend, and we've been living on top of each other, sharing the same room while her dad's been working overseas. I pout when she asks me, pretending to be shocked she'd even have doubts about sharing a secret with her bestie. Though I'm aware of my track record as much as she is, I'm already shifting my fingers to my chest. Cross my heart, I promise her, hoping she doesn't pick up on the gulp of dread that goes along with it. I can't keep my mouth shut for 5 minutes. It's a bad habit, but Lucy's news is big. I can see it broadcasting on her features, news so big I know she's having second thoughts about telling me, let alone anyone else, especially her dad. The dad of hers that I gulp extra hard about every time I hear him mentioned these days, more so now that he's coming home. Lucy twists her pursed lips while eyeing me sidelong and humming to herself as she weighs things in her mind. Are you gonna tell me or not? I finally whine, lifting a pillow from my bed and tossing it at her. She catches it easily, but instead of throwing it straight back or launching into a pillow fight like usual, she hugs it to her chest and chews at her lip. It makes me feel a pang of worry that goes beyond my own little secret I can barely admit to myself. It's that constant, obsessive habit I have now, that stupid game I play in my mind and lose every time, having a forbidden crush on her dad, but that's not what's eating at Lucy. The thought of her dad and I would make anyone laugh out loud because it's ridiculous. Her dad, Dr. Bowdie Big, is a successful doctor twice my age. Plus, anyone who wants to joke about his name changes their mind when they set eyes on him. He's not exactly the typical dad bod, over 40 type guy. Bowdie looks like a linebacker because he used to be one, so it's not unusual for people meeting him for the first time to remember their manners, look up when they speak to him, and do as they're told. I know Lucy can become unhinged occasionally, losing her temper in a way that most people can't or probably shouldn't. Despite all his professional credentials, it's clear to see which side of the family she gets it from. Lucy's dad, Bowdie, is also the most handsome, sweet, and caring man alive. So, a man like that and a heavy-set, curvy girl young enough to be his daughter isn't gonna happen. Not in this universe, anyway, but I've got rising emotions of a different kind. Lucy, what happened? I venture, not meaning to jump to conclusions. She has a turbulent history with her boyfriend, Joshua. It's been on again, off again, and she's only known him for a few months. Her secret should be her relationship with him, but I can see something bigger upset her in a way that even her fiery temper can't handle anymore. Did he hurt you? I ask, feeling the sting of her expression as she narrows her eyes and looks at me, instantly on the defensive. No, Josh did not hurt me, she says hotly. I told you that one time he got mad was just one time. It was a mistake, she says without convincing me, looking more and more like a girl who's decided not to tell her best friend her secret after all. I know what I saw that day. I saw it with my own eyes. I still shudder to think what might have happened if I hadn't walked in. As much as I used to like Josh, I can't stand being in the same room as him after that day. Something about him gives me the creeps, but Lucy's smitten, and Josh is perfect in her eyes when he's not acting psycho, which is often lately. Lucy, I start to say, wanting to apologize but also remind her of a few things, but the muffled knock on my bedroom door interrupts us. Dad. Come in if you're good looking. I chime, and only after Lucy recovers herself. We're a couple of girls who want to have the sleepover that never ends, and for the most part, that's what it's been until today. No matter what's going on, we always keep up appearances for my dad. It's his house, and he's let Lucy stay with us rent-free for 6 months, feeding her and putting up with all our nonsense. Now her dad's coming back, so she'll move back home. Worse than that, I'll have to actualize her dad, which gives me a feeling I know it shouldn't. It hurts and confuses me because I know he could never feel like I do about him. The door swings a quarter way open, and in a split second, I feel all my insides tied up in a knot. It's not my dad. It's Lucy's dad, Bowdie. He's a couple of days early, his dark eyes dart to mine as I feel them getting wider, my mouth hanging open, making me look like a moron. He creases his brow and has a brief look of concern, almost the same look Lucy had just a moment ago. It's supposed to be a happy occasion, so I wait for Lucy's shrieks and squeals at seeing her dad back home again, but she stays silent. An awkward silence fills my entire room as I find myself wanting to go to him, to hug him and have him hug me back. Instead, I sit cross-legged in my sweatpants and t-shirt with a hole in the pits, gaping at him like he's from another planet, which I guess he kinda is. The perfect man, the ruler of the planet Hot. Daddy. Lucy sniffs, forcing a smile and lifting herself with some effort. She's half my size, but whatever's on her mind has her almost bent over double like a little old lady as she struggles to put on a more cheerful welcome for her dad, doing a poor job of looking excited to see him. The thrill in my chest at seeing him makes up for it if I could somehow let him know how I feel. I thought I'd surprise you, Bowdie murmurs. I flew in a couple of hours ago, he adds, looking directly at me and making butterflies start churning. A slight sound escapes me, and I feel a flash of heat in my groin. My chest instantly stiffens as the deep sound of his voice vibrates through me, plucking every heartstring as it does, adding to the intensity of the sudden and inappropriate state of arousal he's given me simply by existing. My dad appears behind him, craning his neck to see past his best friend. What's the matter, Bo? Girls not recognize you because it's been so long? He asks, nudging his way into my room and making Bowdie take a firm step closer to my bed. His eyes are still on me, and the resting pant bulge of an 18-hour flight only inches from my face makes me gulp hard again before I feel my face flush and my mouth dry up, every bead of moisture in my 18-year-old body flooding to the one place I need touching right now. Lucy? Beth, what's the matter? My dad asks, his cheerful expression falling as he studies all three of us, saving his most puzzled expression when he looks at his best friend, Bowdie. Daddy. Lucy exclaims a little more convincingly, shifting her mood for a moment. Suddenly, she's happy to see her dad and gushes that it's a shock to see him so soon and unannounced. I thought we'd keep it a secret. Your dad coming back early, my dad observes, glancing toward me and then at his best friend for what feels like the 100th time. The thought maybe flashes in his mind, but only briefly before it vanishes. I know what he's thinking. It's the only thing I know I'll ever truly wish for because I know it could never happen. No, of course not. As if my best friend would be making eyes at my daughter. She's young enough to be his daughter. The longer I stare, transfixed by Bowdie's gaze, I swear I can't help seeing the same thought in his mind, but in reverse. Or am I just losing my mind? Chapter 12. Bowdie. The hospital director was stunned. My clinical trial patients and fellow research team were even more so. I signed a 2-year contract and bailed after 6 months. It cost me more than some professional reputation do. They don't hand out research grants and expect the head of research to quit on the spot without good reason. The hospital already told me they'd be taking legal action for breach of contract. Thanks for playing, Dr. Big, but we'll have all our money and then some back now. Thank you. I've got a reason, and money be damned. They can have every cent of mine if they want. I couldn't go one more day, one more second, without her. It's stupid. I know it is. I'm having a midlife crisis, and all this will become painfully clear once I'm stateside again, once I see the girl I've somehow convinced myself all this is really about. Beth, my daughter's best friend and my best friend's daughter, to boot. At first, it was her friendly hug goodbye at the airport when I left. I was ashamed for 2 weeks, even seeing a therapist in a foreign country. I spilled my guts about how hard a girl young enough to be my daughter made me, and she still does, more than ever. It only got worse, or maybe that's better, from there on. Lucy's always sending me selfies of the pair of them. I called Lucy most mornings, always hearing what she and Beth were doing and knowing Beth was feet away during each call. I could never get to speak to or see her unless Lucy was in the shot, making one of her stupid faces and clowning around. Pictures I had to edit her out of it and keep in a separate file in my phone I still pretend doesn't exist. All photos of Beth. Just Beth, to begin with, anyway. Then there were the others. There were photos I edited to put myself next to her. Photos I look at every chance I get, always trying to stop the urge and fight this feeling, but it's too late. It was too late the second I left for London. The longer I spent 2 feet away from Beth, the worse I felt by the day. So I quit. It was Brad's idea, Beth's dad, that we keep me coming back early a secret, but it's only another deception on my part. I came back early because I paid a small fortune to share a private charter flight, so I didn't have to wait extra time to see her again, another expense. But it's only money. It should make me mad to have some girl make me act like a teenager again at my age. If I'm not careful, my career and reputation will be over. All over some stupid crush I have because she hugged me half a year ago. Now pulling my dick raw 5 times a day while thinking of her isn't cutting it anymore. I had to come back. I couldn't and still can't face another night alone without seeing her. I've come around the world and haven't even showered or changed. I dropped my luggage at the front door as soon as I got here, needing to see Beth. Needing to. What? I dunno. Tell her I want her? Tell her she's all I can think about day and night and that the past 6 months have been a living hell? Brad thinks I'm just as eager to see Lucy as he'd be to see his only daughter. So he doesn't flinch when I make a direct path to Beth's room, wanting to surprise them both. As much as it pains me to say it, I'm looking forward to seeing Beth's reaction to our little surprise more than Lucy's. Worse than that, my supposed surprise has Lucy and Beth looking at me as if I'm from another planet, clearly interrupting something between them. The air is already thick with something, the long silence made worse when Brad spots me unable to tack my eyes off Beth. I can't stop myself. It's taken every ounce of sheer will not to go mad the whole way back home. Now she's within my reach, and it hits me like a rock that I can't even touch her. I can't hold her like I need to and how she needs me to. Lucy finally snaps to her usual self, breaking the weirdness with the welcome home her dad deserves. If she only knew what I was thinking about doing to her best friend, right there on her bed. I'm glad to see Lucy again, of course. I tell her so, but damn it, if I can't keep my eyes away from Beth. As I hug my daughter, I stare at Beth and think I see a wounded look, just enough to give me hope as if possibly, Beth might actually. Just stop it, Bowdie. She's 18, and she's not interested? I was gonna go out, is all, Lucy finally says, breaking my churning thoughts. Huh? I ask, holding her back so I can look at her. I just got here. Where were you going? I ask her, both of us lapsing into father-daughter mode as if I'd never left. I've just walked in the door, and now I'm asking her why and where else she suddenly has to be that's so important. It's not a great start to my homecoming, and Lucy doesn't appreciate my attitude. You meaning going? She corrects me with a fierce look of defiance. I just arrived from a 6-month. I start to inform her, feeling my irritation rising, but she's quicker off the mark, speaking over me. And I made plans long before you walked in. Lucy says in a way that's just a bit too loud for my liking. I exhale loudly, reining in my real frustration, embarrassed now because Lucy's making me look like a fool in front of Beth. Lucy? I'm sorry, I murmur, almost grinding out the words until Brad pipes in, doing good work to break the tension in the air. All right, he says cheerfully. Bowdie's had a long flight, and you two girls don't handle surprises like you used to. I get it, but can we all calm down? He reasons aloud. Lucy looks at her feet and me. Of course, I'm staring at Beth again, frozen to the spot and flushed red in her round cheeks. The t-shirt she's wearing hugs her curves and ample chest that she hurriedly covers with folded arms. She catches me red-handed, peeking, but as I said, this is getting out of control and nothing like I imagined. Lucy? Brad asks, drawing my attention from the only thing I've come 3,500 miles to see again. I look over at Lucy, who seems suddenly pale, almost gray. She opens her mouth to say something before her hand shoots over it, and she pushes past Brad and me, racing for the bathroom. The door slams and the sound of her throwing up should have me going after her, making sure she's okay. Beth moves first, shooting off her bed and giving me a final snapshot in my mind, the space between her legs and her sweatpants and the moving shapes of her breasts under her t-shirt. I almost let out a low groan before I feel the jolt of Brad's hand clapping heavily on my shoulder. That went well, he sighs, but trust me, buddy. I've had 6 months of those two together, and I gotta tell ya, they've been nothing but angels, mostly. I turn and face him, almost not recognizing him, feeling like I'm in a nightmare where I can see and hear Beth but can't touch her. I can't be with her the way I know I need to be. You look like you could use a drink, Brad announces. Welcome home, Dad. He adds with a hint of his trademark sarcasm, clapping my shoulder again, almost humoring me into thinking my bizarre frame of mind must be from the flight. With both hands on my shoulders, he pivots me toward the kitchen, both of us purposefully ignoring the sounds from the bathroom. We both know from experience that if a teenage daughter wants your help in the bathroom, she'll tell you. If she doesn't, then stay the fuck away. Lady problems, most likely, Brad observes, making me wince. As a doctor, it's just a habit to get annoyed by some of the stuff people come out with, even my best friend. How the hell is vomiting a lady's problem? I challenge him angrily and again, only feeling annoyed because it means another minute I can't spend looking at Beth if she's in the bathroom with Lucy. Brad's got the hide of a rhino and only chuckles to himself knowingly. 6 months, he says to himself, opening the refrigerator and pulling out a couple of beers as if he's the world authority on all things ladies. I should show a bit more respect. Brad had Lucy here for a long time, and not once would he accept my attempts to pay her way, even though she has her own cards I pay for, which I hope she's been using so Brad hasn't struggled. Brad does fine. He got into sports medicine when we were in college. I was on the fence between a football career and medicine. I picked medicine after Lucy's mom, Kathy, got sick. We were just dating back then. Lucy wasn't even a thought. I was young, dumb, and naive enough to believe that I could cure her, save her, even at the end. Having a beer with my buddy should be something I crave as much as seeing my daughter, popping the top and clinking the bottle, creating a poor attempt at a smile as he welcomes me home again. I can't help thinking how extra bitter and cold the beer is in my mouth. I don't enjoy it as Kathy's memory flashes in my mind along with the now permanent tape of Beth. She'll be fine, Bo, Brad assures me, jetting his chin to the back door, urging me out onto the porch overlooking the yard that leads to a wooded creek. At first, I figure it's to give the girls more privacy. The sound of dry heaving isn't exactly a welcome home soundtrack, but once we're outside, I can see Brad's face with concern. I just wanted to let you know. And this is hard for me to say, Bowdie, he starts to say in a low, confidential tone, making my guts twist into a guilty knot. A cold sheen of sweat dots my brow. He knows. Of course, he fucking knows. Any fool could see the way you've been ogling her. In a moment, I'm prepared for the keep your goddamned eyes off my daughter speech, but it never comes. What is it? I rasp, feeling my throat drying up despite taking another pull from my beer. It's just that. Well, he says, looking uneasy. Brad, I tell him firmly, signaling to spit it out. They're just at that age, I guess, he muses. Boyfriends, I mean, and well. He starts to say, but I've already got him by the collar. What do you mean she's got a fucking boyfriend? I snarl, shocking Brad and only surprising myself that I haven't grabbed his throat and choked him because I'm so mad. A surge of rage courses through me at the thought of it. The unthinkable. Beth with a boy. Fuck. Beth with anyone except me. It's not gonna happen. Hey, what the fuck, Bowdie? Brad says swiftly, holding both his arms out in a display of instant surrender, but it's hard for me to let him go. I just figured you ought to know, he explains, my eyes wild and my free hand balling into a fist. I thought you'd rather hear it from me than Lucy, he says meekly. Just as well, if this is your reaction to her having a boyfriend. Jesus, Bowdie. He exclaims, haughtily freeing himself from my grip and readjusting his collar before stepping back inside, shaking his head to himself. Not Lucy? A boyfriend? 6 months ago, that would have been my biggest fear as a parent, that and her getting knocked up, but I've had other things on my mind since then. The only thing hearing that Lucy has a boyfriend makes me feel is a new kind of panic. Oh, thank fuck for that, but if Lucy has one, then who's to say Beth doesn't either? In a split second of a New York minute, I'm flinging the screen door open with a bang, spinning Brad by his shoulder to face me. And Beth? I gasp, feeling all my sanity about to leave me for good if it turns out to be true. If Beth has feelings for anyone else, there's no telling what I'd be capable of the way I reacted just now. If Beth already has a boyfriend, I'd have to do the unthinkable. And Beth, what? I hear her ask with concern and suspicion, shifting my gaze to see Beth standing in the hallway by the kitchen. Chapter 3. Beth. Dad tries to brush it off, but I can see something happen between Bowdie and him in a second. Lucy's pretty much told me to leave her alone, and now it looks like these two are having their own problems. This is not the Bowdie big fantasy I've been having for months on end, and it's not how I want to face the reality of it being just a fantasy, either. It's nothing, sweetie, Dad smiles. How's Lucy? Is she alright? He asks with genuine concern. Bowdie only gives me a dark look before he moves toward me, but seeing him look past me, I know to get out of his way. His huge frame fills the hallway as he reaches the bathroom door in 4 long steps, knocking gently and murmuring to Lucy. And Beth, what? I challenge my dad instead, moving into the kitchen. Not just wanting but needing to know why Bowdie was even saying my name right this second. I was just trying to let Bowdie know. About Lucy and Josh, Dad whispers with gritted teeth, keeping his voice low and looking like a man who wished he'd said nothing. I feel a wave of relief. If Bowdie's mad at Lucy, it must mean. No. No, you don't, Beth. Don't go telling yourself that, and don't freaking say it. It must mean he loves me. I know. Lame, right? This is the stuff I've told myself for so long. My motor mouth is hard to switch off the things I've been telling myself for so long, if only to stop feeling like I'll wither completely unless I can be with Bowdie somehow. That was my mind when he was away. Now that he's right in the hallway, I can see how dumb and dangerous this fantasy is. Until now, I had no idea how much of my emotions I've invested in this, invested in him, heart and soul. I can feel it. Damn it, this is gonna hurt. This forbidden crush of mine. My dirty little secret. Okay, maybe my second dirty little secret, but anyone with eyes could see that a girl my height with curves meant for someone a foot and a half taller is most likely a virgin. An 18-year-old who still lives with her dad and has a bunk bed with pink blankets, for Christ's sake. What hope in hell did I think I'd ever have with a real man like Bowdie? But he got so mad because he thought I was the one with a boyfriend. There I go again. It's such a perfect fantasy. I can't let it go. Bowdie reappears in the doorway, making me lose all my courage about telling him or announcing that I do not have a boyfriend, in case anyone was wondering. As usual, I gum up when I look into his eyes. His creased mouth at an angle to his chiseled, unshaved for the day jawline makes my mind completely blank. Lucy wants to be left alone. She'll be fine, Bowdie remarks, glancing at my dad before he puffs his cheeks and lets out a long breath. You gonna stay for dinner? My dad asks, more accustomed to the high level of drama that can unfold late in the afternoon on a Wednesday, especially with two young ladies in the house. Though for the life of me, I have no idea what's up with Lucy all of a sudden. Of course, but I'm buying, Bowdie asserts, making my chest hurt when he turns away, keeping his eyes down and away from mine as if he can't stand to look at me now, making me wonder exactly what he and Dad were arguing about all over again. They both seem to have moved on, sipping beer and discussing takeout options while I try to process how my day could get any worse, even though it's the highlight of my year to see Bowdie again. I wish it could just be the two of us. I can drive. I almost shriek, desperate to find a way to be alone with Bowdie, to know for sure if it's just me or my overactive, hormonal brain playing tricks on his hot and cold routine. I mean, looking at me like he did and then ignoring me. Maybe I'm losing my mind. We'll just get takeout, honey, my dad murmurs, flipping a sheaf of menus pinned to the fridge with magnets, unless you want to take us all out to a fancy restaurant? He grins, deliberately teasing Bowdie, who again twitches his head to almost look at me. I can see the muscles in his neck, tempering his head down at the floor. Takeout's fine, he rasps, rubbing the back of his neck and shifting across the kitchen, stepping out onto the porch again. Don't mention Josh, okay? Dad murmurs in my ear, passing by me to join his best friend with his hand in his back pocket, fishing for his phone to order food. I don't think I could ever eat again if this lump of lead in my gut is all I'm gonna be left with. Is it possible to die a virgin? I mean, has it ever happened? I suppose not. I'll probably be the first. The sound of the front door closing rapidly jolts my attention, making me swivel my head from left to right. Lucy? I call up the hall, taking slow steps with my head cocked, hoping someone hasn't just let themselves in, but the bathroom door is open, and after checking my room, I see it's empty. With quick steps, I reach the front door, pulling it open and sticking as much of myself out into public view as I dare. Luce? I half call out. Now where the hell would she have gone? Chapter 4. Bowdie. Sorry, Brad, I murmur once we're alone on the porch again, wondering just how long it is before I have to use the same words with my oldest friend to explain something else. Not that I'd be sorry, only sorry I didn't claim her sooner. Jesus, man, give it a rest, will ya? Just had a lot on my mind lately. The research project, you know. I volunteer, hoping it'll be enough to explain my outrageous behavior so far, but Brad is a true friend. We both know we've weathered bigger storms than an awkward homecoming. We've seen each other bent way more out of shape in our 20-plus years of friendship, but his response still surprises me. I mean, his level of interest throws me. "Why do you come back so soon, oh?" he asks, looking concerned in a clinical way, even leaning in a little. He peers at me like I'm an open wound that needs stitching. I heard you quit the whole project and broke a 2-year contract without notice. Is that true? He asks me point blank. Not a suspicious tone or look from him, but he is too curious for me to have an answer on the fly that doesn't involve the words fucking and your daughter in the same sentence. I feel my jaw moving, open and closed, but I don't know what to say. Brad crimps his mouth, looking away to the yard as his mind goes somewhere I can't anymore. I just thought. He finally says. I just thought the research was everything to you for Kathy. It should tug at my heart, give me a stab of guilt, or at least make me feel all that pain mixed with the love I had for her, but for God's sake, it's been 17 years. I think about her every day, but it's a constant reminder of how fragile life is and how we can't save everyone and live forever, how I failed the one person I swore I would save. I promised her I would, and I couldn't in the end. I was a young doctor and a younger man. I thought I could change the world just by having a can-do attitude. It's an incurable disease, Brad, I remind him. Research is really just showing how little a chance anyone is against it, I add, returning his clinical air. A ripple runs through my stomach as it hits me how I feel nothing inside when I think of her now. It's like a dream that became a nightmare, watching what you love be eaten away until there's only a shell. That's how Lucy's mom, Kathy, was when she died. I tried to keep her alive, even long after she passed, with the research and the belief that we'd find a cure or treatment, but I've said all my goodbyes and heard all that I can. I made my peace with Kathy's death a long time ago. Lucy was just a baby when it happened, so it's not as if she even has a memory of her mom. Is a man supposed to live his whole life in torment long after the pain's healed? I don't think so. I know Kathy wouldn't want me wasting whatever time I have left by living like a monk walking on eggshells for the rest of my days. Sorry, big guy, Brad says suddenly. I didn't mean to. How about we just talk about better things, huh? He adds, clearing his throat a little, giving me an all-clear look as he forgives my unprofessional and bizarre performance in his house today. That's what friends do, right? They forgive and forget. They move on. Like dinner? I ask, my mouth peeling wide once it pegs that he suspects nothing about what's really been eating me up from the inside, not just since I walked in the door. This has been festering for 6 months, but if Brad has no clue I'm aching for his daughter, half the battle is won. I just have to get used to being normal when Beth's around. I can't just imagine myself on top of her every time she's in the room. You just got off to a shaky start. Been here 5 minutes, so take a breath and slow down. I've had a hankering for ribs all week, Brad grins, eager to fulfill his promise and talk about better things. I nod approvingly, even though food is the last thing on my mind, but damn it, if Beth isn't the first thing out of my mouth, then the only thing I want in my mouth right now. What about Beth? I hear myself asking aloud. I mean, does she like ribs? I had to cover myself. I know Lucy would eat the ribs straight off an animal. But it's clear to me when I say it that my effort to think or say anything that isn't all about Beth is gonna be more challenging than I thought. Beth usually gets a salad when we order out, Brad observes casually, making me frown. Salad? How the hell is she supposed to sustain herself on rabbit food? A growing girl needs meat and lots of it. I'm sure I can tempt her to have some of mine when it arrives if all she wants is a salad. What was that? Brad asks, his head tilting rapidly as we hear the front door banging. My instinct is to go check it out, my first and only thought being Beth, of course, but it's not my house, and she's not my daughter. Brad moves past me with a sidelong glance, telling me as much though he's used to a man my size kind of filling up all the space and taking charge whenever anything unexpected happens, even something as innocent as a door banging in the house. I'm forced to let Brad go first, which causes my jaw to clench. My whole body suddenly tenses as Beth reappears in the kitchen. What's going on, honey? Brad chimes. Someone else here? Lucy must have stepped out for some air, Beth says, giving an awkward-looking shrug. Brad's eyes shoot straight at me as he turns, waiting for me to react. I make a point of keeping my eyes on Brad, eventually shrugging myself. Probably not a bad idea, I remark, not meaning to sound like Brad should join Lucy and take a walk. We're ordering ribs, Brad announces with forced cheerfulness. Beth crimps a smile and nods while I fish my phone out of my pants, speed dialing Lucy. It goes to voicemail, and I make a point of leaving her a message. Hey Luce? I'm worried that you're unwell and just taking off like that. Give me a call or come back to Brad's house, please, I clip, sounding every bit the father I try hard not to be with her. If she's ill, I don't want her wandering about. I also don't want any more excitement today. Coming home was supposed to be a happy occasion, and I'm already wondering if I should have stayed in London, as if 6 more months of obsessing over her best friend would help. Yeah, right? We could go look for her, Beth suggests, but Brad quickly dismisses the idea. She's fine, he sighs. Like you said, she just went out for some air. She'll be back before you know it. Bowdie, how about you freshen up and get changed, huh? You must be aching for a hot shower and some clean clothes after your trip. I feel my mouth curling down into a frown. Bathroom's free now, Brad adds, giving me the impression he's telling me to go hose myself down, not just suggesting it. You're probably right, I reluctantly agree, sniffing my pits through my shirt. I always hate it when Brad's right. A shower and change should have been the first thing I focused on when I arrived. So, grabbing my smallest bag by the front door, I do as I'm told. I listen closely to catch every word Beth says as she and her dad discuss takeout and all of us having a night in, playing board games, of all things. Jesus. I can't stay still with Beth anywhere near me for a full minute. The prospect of hunching over for hours on end, rolling dice, and moving plastic pegs around seems insulting compared to the night I'd rather spend with his daughter, rolling her about instead and thumbing her peg until she comes as hard as I know I have to right now. As the saying goes, doctors make the worst patients, and following my friend's advice, I peel myself out of my shirt and pants after making a face when I have to close and lock the door of the tiny bathroom. In case she sees, but that's the whole point. I want her to see what she's missing. I want her to see what I have for her. My arousal slaps loudly against my abs as I undress, making me groan. It's as if my body senses shower time is also the time to let off some steam of my own as well as from the shower head. Beth time, but no, I can't. I won't. Not only will I not yank off in my buddy's bathroom, but I also won't waste a drop of what I have simmering in my loins. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Hell, I don't even know if it's what Beth wants. Her eyes tell a different story, though. I know when a girl's just glancing and checking out a man's crotch. I'm gonna find out, I have to. Otherwise, I'll lose my mind, and once I discover what she wants, I'm gonna make sure every stroke of my manhood is only inside her from now on. I need to let her know I'm interested without actually saying it. I'll tell her and see how she reacts. Easier said than done, but I am known for pulling the odd miracle now and then. Chapter 5. Beth. The sound of the shower running is all the cover my dad needs to ask me everything he can't with Bowdie in the room. Try as I might, I can't help growling in annoyance when he starts up about Lucy. I love Lucy. She's my best friend, but I'm also allowed to hate how she acts occasionally. God knows, sharing a room with her for 6 months is enough to drive anyone to distraction, and today of all days, with her dad coming home so soon, she's picked a fine time to have one of her little episodes. It's something my dad's not only picked up on, but he seems to think it's something I've done. You want to tell me what's going on between you and Luce? He asks point blank, returning the takeout menus to their home under a large medical company logo magnet on the fridge door. I don't have to fake my puzzled look and risk being as much a diva as Lucy's being today. I don't hide my irritation, either. Why don't you ask her yourself? I exclaim angrily, clenching my jaw. I'm sick of you always asking me what's up with her, Dad. If you ever took the time to look, you might see I have enough problems of my own. I declare passionately, hearing how stupid my outburst sounds as it echoes back to me off the kitchen walls. Dad hums to himself knowingly, his cheek pinching and brow wrinkling. You don't have a job. You have no expenses or responsibilities and get to stay home all day doing whatever the hell you want, and do we get problems? He fires back with a double dose of sarcasm. His eyes widen as he delivers his ultimate dad-has-you-pegged speech. It hurts whenever Dad puts it like this, and only because I know he's right, but what else am I supposed to say? That I'm madly in love with Bowdie and wish I could be sent to live with him for 6 months instead of having his brat of a daughter helping herself to all my stuff? Plus, Lucy snores and worse. Any man who shares a bed with her will have to keep a window open if he wants to have enough air to breathe and keep living before morning, but I know what my dad's getting at. He could sense the moment Lucy and I were having just as Bowdie arrived, Here big secret she was priming me to keep quiet about. The secret she never got to tell, and now she's taken off to who knows where. Sorry, Beth, Dad mumbles, running both hands straight back through his short hair as he puffs out a breath of exasperation. It's just. Well, Lucy's never been sick the whole time she's been here, and the second her dad shows up, she's got Montezuma's revenge, he exclaims. I think that's different, Dad, I educate him. She was throwing up, not spraying diarrhea, I add, which is about as much medical speak as I can manage with my high school diploma. Beth. Dad scolds me, screwing up his nose and reminding me why he picked sports medicine over being a proper doctor, as I like to call it. He hates the sight of blood, so anything else shooting out of the human body is enough to make him squirm. Is it that Josh guy? He asks, giving me a weird jolt in my belly. Even the mention of that creep is enough to set me on edge. Like I said, Dad, I really don't know what's wrong with her. Can we change the topic, please? I ask until it occurs to me that if Lucy has taken off, then it's most likely her dad will soon go out looking for her, which means less of her dad for me. Being stuck playing board games, eating ribs, and listening to Dad belch beer all night isn't part of my Bowdie fantasy. I need to make sure I keep Bowdie here somehow. Get him alone so I can. I dunno. What would he do? Ask him out on a date? Hurl myself at him and hope for the best? Nope, that's a stupid idea, or I could. It hits me like a thunderbolt, a brainwave so unique and incredible it just has to work. I sway on the spot for a moment, fluttering my eyes maybe a little too much, but it's enough to catch my dad's attention. Beth? He asks, scrutinizing my sudden and feigned attack of dizziness. You know what, Dad? I don't feel so great, I lie, I think I might go lie down for a while. My poor dad, but I need to do this. It feels like the only way I'm gonna get Bowdie alone is if I can call for him from my sick bed. He is a doctor, after all. He is a proper doctoring all the right places if his resting pant bulges anything to go by. He's just the man a sick girl needs to slip something under her tongue. To take her temperature, of course. My dad's technically a doctor too, but I haven't sprained a hamstring. I've got some sudden and incurable disease. It's the burning heat Bowdie gives me between my legs, so who better to help fix it? I know. It's a half-baked plan that could very well backfire or not happen at all, but I have to think of something to draw a little more attention to me from Bowdie if he's ever gonna find out how I really feel about him. The screen door creaks, making both Dad and I pivot our heads. Lucy. My dad cries with relief. We were just talking about you. Are you okay? Beth said you were throwing up, he stammers, not sure how he should approach things once he notices her red eyes and sniffing nose, the picture of a girl who's been crying way more than she's been throwing up. I'm fine, Mr. Peters, really, I am. I just had to go for a walk and get some air. I'll be all right, Lucy says weakly, making me roll my eyes for real this time before they narrow with annoyance. And perfect timing, too, I pipe in, making sure she catches my mood, but it's useless. Lucy doesn't look like she cares about anything right now. She's miles away from the Lucy who wanted to share her innermost secret with me about a half hour ago. I think I'll just grab some things and head home if that's all right, she murmurs, focusing on my dad instead of me. I can always come back for the rest, and thank you again for having me stay for so long. You don't have to leave, Luce. We're all gonna have dinner together and have a game night, my dad says, sounding hurt, making me half wonder if he doesn't have a thing for Lucy himself. Nah, he's just itching to beat us all at his favorite board game. I know he is, and he wants to spend the evening with his best buddy, catching up over old times and sucking beers while I just quietly go insane. Not everyone's harboring a forbidden crush, Beth. The thought makes me wince as I even try to picture my dad and Lucy together. Much like my original feelings regarding my chances with a man like Bowdie, it's laughable. Like no way, no how, kinda laughable, which makes my shoulders slump and my sick feeling real as I discover I don't have to act so hard anymore. I feel sick to my stomach, so maybe curling up in a ball in my bed really is the smartest thing to do right now. I dunno, Lucy murmurs, shrugging and making an uncomfortable face, finally hugging her elbows until my dad plays diplomat. Well, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, Luce. Just saying that we're all gonna make a night of your dad's coming home, so it would be great if it were all four of us, he sighs, the strain of his day off so far making him look like he's worked 2 weeks straight in an afternoon. Usually, when Dad makes his plans known, and it includes all of us, Lucy plays along, but something is different about her. She wrinkles her nose and shakes her head. "I think I'll just be going," she says, but Bowdie's deep voice makes us all jump, and I gasp when I turn and see him filling the door frame. He's wearing nothing but a towel and 1,000 drops still making tiny rivers across his rippling, chiseled body. He has a tan that makes me wonder if he's ever been to London at all. I start panting involuntarily. That rising need I mentioned earlier feels like it just broke the yolk, and the space between my legs is so wet it feels like I've been used to dry Bowdie after his shower, something I'd be willing to submit myself to any day of the week. "Going where?" he asks, his clear but serious-looking eyes on Lucy's. The stern tone in his rich, natural baritone voice gives me an extra shiver, a cherry on top of my cherry if you will. Dad looks uneasy, maybe not just at the sight of his best friend nearly naked in his kitchen. I can't think of or know any man who wouldn't feel more than a little humbled seeing Bowdie big in nothing but a towel. Lucy squirms because anyone with eyes could see Lucy's in some kind of trouble. Her dad, being away so long, is the one man who is bound to overreact and make a bad situation worse, aka the reason Lucy wants whatever's eating her kept secret. Lucy meets her dad's authority head-on, with no sign of giving up soon. "I just want to go home, Dad. I feel sick, and I want to go home. Don't you get it, or have you been trying to raise the dead again?" Staring into a microscope while the rest of the world tries to get on with their lives. She says it so clearly but so harshly that it's like a knife cutting through the air, and with every slice of what it cuts, I can see fall from Bowdie's face. My dad signals me to follow his lead, and we exit rapidly through the living room so Lucy and her dad can chat. "Did I miss something?" my dad asks aloud. It sounds like he's talking to me, but when I look over at him, he's asking himself. Eventually, he catches my stare. 6 months ago, Bowdie was. He was fine. Now he's. I dunno what he is, but whatever he's got, it must be catching. Lucy used to be so. He wants to say something but stops himself. "It's not our place to say anything, honey," he reminds me. "Why don't you go hang out in your room, and I'll let you know when the dust settles." From the rising flow and ebb of intense voices from the kitchen, I actually agree with my dad for once. If Lucy's ready to go blow for blow with her dad, best of luck to her. I'm starting to feel in too deep again, and Bowdie still doesn't know how I feel. I can't help but gnaw at my lip once I flop onto my bed, my bedroom door closed as I imagine if I could be with him, let alone should be. He's just so mature. And big. Rich and handsome. Big. I wheeze another long sigh at big, recalling how he looked just now in nothing but a towel he made look like a wash rag. It was so tight and small on him, and I can now say for sure those were not pleats in his pants earlier. The man is big. Everywhere. The fantasy I've been building in my mind for 6 months spills over. With my room all to myself for what feels like the first time in ages, it isn't long before I feel my hands slipping down the front of my sweatpants. Right now, they're plenty wet, but not with sweat.